Again, Flyers had some news come out earlier, and we're going to get into all that news coming up. Big news, actually, with Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. So here's the deal. I did not have any gut feel about Joel Embiid going off last night. I'm just being perfectly honest with you guys. But when he had 30 points at halftime, you were kind of looking around like, well, he's got 30 at halftime, so in theory, he should be able to get to 50. And there was a moment in the game last night where I was unsure what they were going to do because he wasn't playing early in the fourth quarter. And as Tom McGinnis was saying on the radio during the broadcast, he was saying, look, they have to bring Embiid back in because this game is close down the stretch. The Spurs deserve a lot of credit. They are not a winning basketball team right now, but they are fighting for every inch of every game. And they're not a very talented team, but you can tell that in a couple of years, they are going to be very dangerous because right now they just don't have the ammunition to keep up with someone like Joel Embiid having an historic night. And when Joel got to 65 and he got fouled, I remember just sitting here thinking, he's going to break Wilt's record. You just felt it at that moment. You didn't feel it in the first quarter. You didn't feel it in the second quarter. It was a feeling of anticipation that built throughout the entire game. And it just goes to show you why Joel Embiid is so special, why Joel Embiid is so unique, why Joel Embiid is different than everyone else. Joel Embiid is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. And I understand that being one of the best players is not guaranteed you to win a championship, but it definitely puts you a lot closer to your desired destination than if you were not. That is my biggest takeaway from a game last night. You see why. You understand why. You have the wherewithal why. It's so important to have someone like Joel Embiid on your basketball team. Because someone like Joel Embiid changes the dynamics of any night. And I understand. I know he has been healthy in the playoffs. Even Doc Rivers has said that he would like to see Joel Embiid healthy once in the postseason. But the symmetry of him getting that game on the same date as Kobe Bryant being his favorite player, there was so much that went into the game last night that at least for one night, I didn't care about MVPs. I didn't care about championships. This is what makes sports special, is that going in any night of the week, you can see something different. You can see something special. And you can enjoy that moment because these athletes are so gifted at what they do. They work so hard to get to where they are. And that's why I told Mike Gill earlier today when he was asking me on 97.3 ESPN, he was asking me the question that he put out there on his Twitter poll. Mike Gill's Twitter poll said, would you rather see an NBA player like the Sixers, Joel Embiid, go for 70, or go to a Phillies game and see a no-hitter thrown by your team's pitcher? And I said the 70-point game. Now, 57% of the votes at Mike Gill's show on Twitter, at 973 ESPN on Twitter, 57% of the votes said 70-point NBA game. And my reasoning why I go with the 70-point game, as I explained earlier with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday night. You don't see what you saw last night very often. The list of people who did what Joel Embiid did last night is Wilt Chamberlain, David Robinson, and Joel Embiid. And guess what? Prior to popular opinion, I did not live to see Wilt Chamberlain play basketball. Okay? I know I sometimes come off as an old guy the way I talk sometimes, but I was not born early enough to see Wilt play. I did see David Robinson, but I did not see Wilt. So I'd rather see something historic than a no-hitter. Because the problem with the no-hitter is I feel like there's a no-hitter every year. I feel like I see a no-hitter every single year. And it's nothing against baseball, but guess what? There have been 322 no-hitters thrown since 1876. So, based off of that number, yes, you basically see a no-hitter every single baseball season. 9 of them were thrown in 2021. That's why I was so excited last night, because I got to see something that probably Wilt Chamberlain would have done frequently because he was that dominant. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Like I said, Kevin Durso will join us coming up in about 11 minutes. Now we'll look deeper into the Flyers. So we will talk with him then. I did want to touch for a moment on the Eagles because as we are getting ready for this press conference tomorrow, I can't get around the fact that there's a lot of names who have been thrown around out there that don't really get me excited. Don't really get me saying, oh man, I gotta have that guy as my coordinator. I gotta have this guy as the guy that I need. I just don't I don't see anyone that is, now I don't get excited about Ron Rivera, but I like the idea of him. Even Frank Reich, like I'm not getting excited about Frank Reich. And when I heard Dan Orlovsky say this earlier today on NFL Live, it verbalized it to my core why I am frustrated about the Eagles situation right now, because we know what they're going to do on a defense. They're going to hire a new coordinator. They're going to revamp the talent pool. Sirianni did it between 2016 and 2017. He did it from 21 to 2022. He also did it from 20 to 21. And he also did it from 18 to 19. So he has multiple times shown us he can retool a defense. But should we be more concerned about what is going on with the offense? Dan Orlovsky on NFL Live said this.
If you're running an offensive system in the NFL and it doesn't have multiple personnel groups, multiple formations, the ability to change motion and play action, you're behind. It's not 2016 anymore. It's 2024. And Sirianni's system, at least from what we saw this year, doesn't major in that stuff. That hurts this football team.
And it's not to say that you can't run the ball, all right? Look at the teams that are in the championship games. The Ravens, the 49ers, and the Lions all have very good running games. And the Chiefs have a very good running back, all right? So we know that running the ball, it's not archaic, all right? But as Orlovsky said, it's the lack of motion. It's the standing still. It's the I got one pitch if I'm a pitcher, and I'm daring you to hit it. And unless that one pitch is Mariano Rivera's cutter, you are not going to be able to get away with that. I do not like the fact that the Eagles seem to have this indifference about the offense. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that there can be an adjustment. But I'm just putting it out there before I get to the text board at 609-403-0973 and your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. For me, I look at the Eagles and I can't wait for this press conference tomorrow because finally we can get an answer about what is going on. Because I don't care in what area of life you are in. Professional sports, business, politics, whatever arena that you like to apply this to. There's an old saying that if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But on the flip side, if it is damaged, you do need to fix it. Just because you can drive around without certain parts of your car doesn't mean that your car is going to work optimally. Just because you can score 25 points a game with this offensive scheme doesn't mean that it is going to be the best version of itself. You know, you can drive around with a busted flex pipe, which has to do with your exhaust system, for those who don't know. It's going to make a lot of noise, but you can drive around with that. Is your car going to work optimally? No. But can you do it? Yes. So if you're the Eagles, fix the flex pipe and don't just say, well, we were good enough. Because good enough doesn't win championships. Jeff in Ocean City asks, Josh, what should we expect to hear from the Eagles press conference tomorrow? If the Eagles start slow next year, will they move on from Nick? Well, those are two different questions, Jeff in Ocean City. I expect to hear the Eagles have to give some sort of answer about the coordinator situation. I think that Sirianni and Howie Roseman have been preparing for the questions that are going to come their way. I think you're also going to hear some clarity about maybe, the why behind all of this. The why behind Desai, Patricia, and now why they're gone. I don't know if they'll address any specific scheme or player, personnel stuff, but I do think there will be some answers about at least what they think the direction is moving forward. The only way they move on from Nick Sirianni, Jeff in Ocean City, is if they start maybe like 1-4 or 2-6. I could see them fire Nick Sirianni if and only if one or two of the coordinators are former head coaches. I could totally see a scenario where Ron Rivera's be the defensive coordinator and they turn around and they say, Ron, you're the interim head coach. Just keep running the defense. The offense coordinator will run the offense. That's why I tend to believe the OC is going to be someone a little bit more established. Okay. I don't think he'll be a brand new wonder kid for OC. I think it'll be someone who can offset Sirianni a little bit. Maybe someone who can, push back on Sirianni in the way that Frank Reich pushed back on Doug Peterson, or the way that Sirianni completely entrusted Shane Steichen with the offense. He needs someone like that for the offense. All right, we'll get more of your texts on the other side. 609-403-0973. Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider, join us. What is going on with Kevin Hart? What is the status of Owen Tippett, who was just put on injury reserve? All that and more coming up here. Flyers hockey tonight. But next, Kevin Durso to talk about them Flyers on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday night.
Listen to Carlin vs. Joe on 97.3 ESPN.
Every press conference was some empty platitude about we're fighters, we'll get off the mat, but they didn't. Your message wasn't heard by the locker room, wasn't received by the locker room. You closed the season losing 6 of 7. You got blown out by the Niners. You got blown out by the Cowboys. You blew a sure thing at Seattle late in the game. You blew it against the Cardinals at home. You got rolled by the Giants in the finale, and then you limped into the playoffs and got blown out by Tampa Bay. What does Nick Sirianni do? And when you tell me eventually what he does do, what does he do well? Because you're the guy that's got to yank them out of it. You're managing all that. He couldn't do anything to solve those issues.
It's Carlin vs. Joe with Chris Carlin and Joe Fortenbaugh. Weekdays from noon to 2 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released. Matt Blatt Nissan.com. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Harbor Township.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's BABBEL.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. Not one based on Carol. She's more focused on hitting a high note than the car in front of her. Why pay a rate based on anyone else? Get one based on you with DriveWise from Allstate.
Not available in Alaska or California, subject to terms and conditions. Rates are determined by several factors, which vary by state. In some states, participation in DriveWise allows Allstate to use your driving data for purposes of rating. While in some states, your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Generally, safer drivers will save with DriveWise. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first. Voted best of the best in Jersey Shores. For roofing and siding, windows and doors. 24-month financing, no payments, no interest. You're certified GAF elite contractors. Champion-exteriors.com. Champion Exteriors, Champion, the one you call first.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
Top of the 7th looks like a pitching change as they've set up for a corner kick. The 2 black belts have entered the mat, and the slider is low and away. He heads the ball to midfield. This is quite a kumite. Here comes the roundhouse. Has it got enough gas to get out of here? Unbelievable. They've bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Kick savings pitch karate.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
It seems like everywhere you look right now, someone is sick. This year, prepare your family for airborne invaders like bacteria, pollen, and yes, germs with Navage Nasal Care. Navage flushes ultra-pure, refreshing saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out of the other nostril. Navage sucks out viruses, dust, and other airborne particles, all the stuff that gets trapped in your nose, making you miserable. Don't get caught empty-handed this winter. Get Navage, the drug-free solution that helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier. Even better, Navage is HSA FSA eligible, so Navage is a great way to spend those funds before they expire. Don't wait a minute longer. Buy Navage today and you'll breathe easier knowing you're putting your funds to good use. Navage is available online at Navage.com or Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for more details. That's MattBlattKiaNJ.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Two players who will not be on the ice for the Flyers tonight. That would be Carter Hart and Owen Tippett. What does that mean for the team moving forward? Of course, they play Tampa tonight, but it looks like Hart and Tippett will be out until at least a while. Our Flyers insider is Kevin Durso. He joins us right now on the phone line here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. CLE. Check out Kevin Durso's latest coverage of the Flyers. Kevin, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So let's start with the elephant in the room. Carter Hart, he asked for a leave of absence from the team. The good news is the Flyers do have people who can fill in. Ersan has played great. Peterson is a veteran goaltender. So what is going on with Hart and what is going on with the Flyers here?
Sure. So kind of a unexpected announcement this afternoon that Carter Hart requested and was granted a leave of absence, citing personal reasons. That's really all we know right now. There's, everything else would be reckless speculation to go any further than that and discuss it any further. It's a personal issue for now. As things come out, I'm sure we will find out more. But for now, that's what we know. And that, take the indefinite timeline for what it's worth. It's indefinite. So until we get any more clarity, you just have an indefinite timeline there. And that is what it is for Carter Hart. For now, that does mean leaning on Sam Ersson probably a lot in the near future. He'll get the start tonight, obviously. And you have Cal Peterson, who's backing up, who will have to get a few starts in here somewhere. For now, they can probably, at the very least, short term, look at Ersson until the All-Star break. That's 2 more games beyond this. So Ersson can go in Detroit on Thursday, can go against Boston on Saturday afternoon. And then you get well over a week pause before you have to kind of regroup and figure out what the plan is going forward and deal with, everything going forward. But for now, that's what we know about Carter Hart. That's what we know about the situation in net for the Flyers. And we await any further information as this kind of develops.
Because I don't want to get into any speculation. I want to just stick to the Flyers on the ice, Kev, when I ask this. If Ersan plays really well in Hart's absence again, is there any consideration that the organization may pivot at some point away from Carter?
Sure, that's always possible. I mean, especially when you're not around the team for whatever reason. It can be for injury, it can be for like this with the leave of absence and personal reasons. If a goaltender is going to play well, and this goes for any position really. If someone plays well and shows that they're deserving of the minutes and deserving of the opportunity to be maybe at the top of the chart here, then they'll get the opportunity, and it may change things as you see them going forward. So for now, that's an opportunity that Ersson's going to have and be able to see what he can do. He's already gotten a really nice opportunity as it is. It was kind of before this. It was kind of a goalie rotation of sorts. So Ersson was getting regular starts to begin with. Now he's basically going to assume the role as the number one at this moment. And that's going to be a big opportunity to see how he handles long stretches of play and long stretches of starting games. We haven't really seen much in terms of guys getting consecutive starts lately, but that's going to happen now. And we're going to see how Ersson handles it and if he's capable of being the number one guy that he's looked the part of for the last several weeks in the rotation.
Do you have any concern about Ersson's game that you've seen that you may think could get exposed with more playing time?
Well, I would say that, fatigue is going to be a possible factor here. The thing that worked well for the Flyers up to this point and has worked well for other teams as well is the balance. And now you kind of have to come into a territory now where it's not like you have another guy in a system beyond these two that has proven that they can go that length and be basically, 1A, 1B. You would be finding that out on the fly if you were to, at the very least, that's what you had going for you with the way Hart had played to start the year and with the way that Ersan was playing lately, is that they both were capable, that they both could start games, and that gives you a great situation to be in. Now you have to kind of see if Peterson can fill in that spot. If not Peterson, you could turn to Felix Sandstrom, who's in the minors, but you don't have a lot beyond that. And it's going to hurt your goaltending depth, at least in the interim, until you figure out what's going on with the situation, until the leave of absence is over, if it ever is, depending on where this all goes. So you have to kind of ride this situation out. In terms of Harrison's game on the ice beyond the fatigue factor, he's been continuing to build confidence. He's a very calm, cool, and collected character, so he doesn't really let things phase him. I don't think you see him really having much of a reaction to things that happen that don't go his way on the ice. If something happens, he wants to bounce back. He seems like he wants to embrace the opportunity to be better the next time around, or to make the next save and to see if he can't keep his team in the game. Now he just has the opportunity to do that with regularity. We'll see. We'll kind of see how that, maybe my answer to that question will evolve over the lengthy playing time he's going to get, because, to this point, it doesn't look like there's an apparent weakness. He does a good job tracking. His rebound control is usually pretty good. He's got a lot of things that go in his favor. But as you play more, you may start to find things that pop up that teams are able to expose, and we'll see if that's the case as this thing goes on. But for now, it's about seeing how he handles the workload, and that's certainly going to be something to watch as these next few games go along.
Talking with our Flyers insider, Kevin Durso. Of course, the Flyers playing Tampa tonight. You hear the action right here on 97.3 ESPN, and then you can hear the action on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, which is free thanks to First Bank of Sea City. Kevin, the other news that came out today, Owen Tippett going on injured reserve. Mike Gill gave me the side eye when I said, Owen Tippett's a stud, but I think that you are going to miss somebody significant on the ice without him out there.
Well, you're definitely going to miss him against some of the teams you're playing this week for sure. You're going to miss him against Tampa Bay, who brings speed and skill. You're going to miss him against the Boston Bruins later this week. The good news with the IR designation is that you can backdate that and make it retroactive to Sunday's game when he first missed action. So because of that, IR is a minimum of 7 days. It basically takes him out of play for the rest of the week. But then you have that extended break anyway with the All-Star break. So it really just means that you're playing it safe with him. He's already missed one game. He'll miss the 3 that are remaining for this week. And then you target maybe having him back by the time you come back on February 6th and play the Florida Panthers. That's the game I think that you target having him back. And I think that's smart to do when you have, a lot of road in front of you still with this season. You don't want to try to do something that could hurt him further. You don't want to take a risk that maybe keeps him out of the lineup for longer. You're doing the right thing by playing it safe here and giving him until after the All-Star break. It was encouraging enough as it was that he was even able to test it out and try to skate on it prior to the game on Sunday. So you have a situation there where at least it doesn't appear to be long-term, and I wouldn't worry about missing 3-4 games here like he's going to. I think that you just take that for what it is. You play it safe, and, if he's not back by the time you're back from the All-Star break, then you have bigger concerns. But for now, I don't think you have anything to worry about with him. He is a guy you're going to miss in the lineup this week, but certainly hopefully you get him back sooner rather than later, especially with the All-Star break coming up, and that will help them have a guy who brings skill, brings speed, brings a high talent level, a lot of production, all those qualities. Those are the things you want in your lineup, and he can certainly bring that. So you hope that this is shorter term and that you're just worried about dealing with this week for now, and that he's back soon after when the All-Star break's over.
You mentioned dealing with this week. Any concerns about the 2 losses over the weekend? I mean, look, you lost to Colorado. They're one of the best teams in hockey. I'm not thinking that too much, but you had the lead against Ottawa, Kevin, and you let it slip away. So, is there any concern of any carryover from the weekend going into these next 3 games?
Yeah, there definitely is a little bit. And I would say that the biggest reasoning behind that, to me anyway, is the lineup structure. You're rolling an 11 forward, 7 defenseman lineup right now, and they might be able to pull that off for the rest of the week. They might be able to get some wins out of that. They've won games with it before. I had somebody ask me on Twitter X today, what's their record with 11 forward, 7D compared to the normal 12 forward, 6 defenseman lineup. And they've run this type of lineup 9 times already this season. This will be the 10th. And in the 9 games, they have a 5-3-1 record. That's actually pretty good, all things considered. But when you think about how they've run that 11-7 lineup now, 8 times out of 9 that they've done this, 8 times in the month of January and 6 times since the trade acquiring Jamie Drysdale, those are things to consider in terms of how you're using your lineup, the rotation of forwards, giving forwards potentially, I understand wanting to maybe have certain forwards out there more often in the game because they bring a skill set that you want to have on the ice, but you can also run your team into the ground that way. And I think that the weekend, just a little bit at least, showed some signs that, you don't want to push it with this team. You want to be careful about how much you overdo it with this lineup and how much you overdo it with some of your forwards, because, yeah, you've got a rotation of defensemen right now with these 7 defensemen. And sure, you don't want to really make that tough decision yet about who comes out of the lineup because you kind of surprisingly dropped Jamie Drysdale into that group in the middle of your season. But you're eventually going to have to make a decision if it's not leading to balance, just balance play. You can't do what they did on Sunday and dress a guy like Nick Delorier, who ends up playing 5 minutes and 12 seconds of the game, and then roll 10 other forwards for the rest of the game and hope that doesn't have an impact on how they're able to hold up once you get into the final 5 minutes of the third period when that game was decided. So that's the concern I have, is that you don't want to overdo it with this group of forwards, especially in this lineup structure. For now it might be working, but eventually it could wear out. And if and when it does, it could get really ugly, and you're still battling for a playoff spot, and it's still close. You could drop out very quickly if it doesn't work out in your favor, and you start seeing the pitfalls of using this kind of lineup.
By the way, that's Kevin_Durso on the Twitter X platform. You got Flyers questions, hit him up there. Also check out his work at 97.3 ESPN.com. You mentioned the playoffs. They are 4th most points in the Eastern Conference right now, Kevin. So are they high enough in the playoff competitive standings, you believe, that will put Briere and Jones in a position to start making moves to continue to build this roster?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because that's the decision that teams have to face starting around this time of year. You start to have to consider what direction you're going to go. And to this point, to both Danny Briere and Keith Jones's credit at this point, they've stuck firm by what they've said since the start of the season, which is that they're not in that position yet. It doesn't sound like they're in a position to buy. Maybe the closest thing you got was acquiring Jamie Drysdale, which brought a player onto your active roster today, as opposed to a prospect for down the line. That being said, they do have tough decisions to make the other direction too, in terms of whether you want to be, kind of a strategic seller of sorts and move on from, say, one of your defensemen who's playing well this season. Do you want to do that? Do you have any other forwards in mind that you think it's time to move on from, and that you can maximize their value now and open the door for somebody else to come in? So you have to make those decisions, and you're trying to do it kind of at this point, now that you've gone through all of the milestones of the season, and you're going to probably, pretty much essentially you're guaranteed almost a spot in the playoffs come the All-Star break as of this weekend. You're looking at a situation where you are going to be, because you're there, you don't necessarily want to sabotage that. You're in a position where you're trying to be careful about how far you've come already. This Saturday, when they play their last game before the All-Star break, it'll be their 50th game of the season. There's only 32 left after that. So do you want to do, when it comes to the deadline and when it comes to trying to have this roster get to the finish line of the season, do you do anything that is good for your future, but it could potentially sabotage that playoff opportunity? Is making the playoffs the thing that really matters to this equation, in terms of, you're a rebuilding team, but that playoff experience for a group of players that has done it all season long and is on the younger side, that's a benefit to them to get that experience now versus trying to do that 3 years from now. So you have to weigh a lot of things when you make that decision. I'm fairly certain they won't be buyers as people would think at the deadline when you're in a playoff spot, but I don't think that they're going to do anything drastic that breaks this locker room up. They really like the unity of the room. They like everything that's kind of going on with that. And now your goal is to see how far you can take this thing and keep yourself in one of these positions. I mean, they continue to maintain that second spot in the Metropolitan Division. That would technically give them home ice in a playoff series. And that's something that certainly nobody would have expected at the start of this year. So you're kind of weighing rewarding this group for what they've done to this point in the season with how does this affect the future and the plan going forward. So tough decisions to make for sure.
All right, before I let you go, I want to full circle this because I mentioned the trade deadline, but we started with Carter Hart. Mm-hmm. Is there a potential scenario where the Flyers trade Carter Hart before the deadline and that's their big move?
I don't see it. And the reason I don't see it is because, one, if again, we're without trying to speculate too much on the reasoning behind the leave of absence, if everything turns out to be fine and this is temporary and he's back in, say, a couple weeks or something of that sort, you want him back for the push because he's been one of your key goaltenders. So I think the team would want him back in that sense. And then you worry about kind of the future beyond that because he's due for a contract after this season, and then you have to worry about those things later on down the line, but at least you would have some clarity into how your goaltending's managed for the rest of the year. And I think they would want to keep it that way. Obviously, this whole thing is a giant elephant in the room right now, and you have to kind of consider what the implications could be depending on the reasoning behind it. And again, without trying to speculate too much, that's the bigger thing right now. I don't think that there's any, I think otherwise anyway, there wasn't any interest in trading him because of what's been going on so far this season. And I think that would stay the same, assuming he's still part of the roster and assuming that everything is, status quo to what it was prior to today. I would assume that they would keep it that way going forward.
Yeah, I'm not trying to kick the guy out the door. I'm just trying. I know what listeners, I know the fans are thinking. Kevin, people are always these questions in their head. Everyone's played NHL Live and they've traded guys in video games and stuff. Or fantasy hockey. By the way, I just dropped Carter Hart in fantasy hockey and picked up Ersan. So for whatever that's worth, if anybody cares.
Sure, but and that's the conversation we've had in the past too about how Ersan's kind of been the shiny new toy lately,
right?
And so there's a little bit more magnitude on, hey, Carter Hart let in a softer goal in this situation, so everybody kind of I start seeing comments all the time about how it's a little bit more of a turn on Carter Hart and the way that people feel about him, and everybody goes to, well, Ersan's playing so great, he should be the guy. Well, now you know what? Everybody who's been saying that, you're going to get your wish because right now he's the guy. So now let's see how everybody feels about that after however long this goes on for. Let's see how everybody feels about it. And then, you can make your judgment of where you feel Ersan fits into this whole equation going forward as well, beyond this season.
And it doesn't get easier because tonight it's the Lightning, then you got the Red Wings, then you got the Bruins, Kevin. So if you're ever going to find out, this is the week, right?
Certainly, it's a great measuring stick week. I'm using a term there that John Tortorella doesn't like because he says he doesn't believe in statement wins and statement games and measuring sticks and all that type of stuff. But it certainly is one. And the next two in particular are especially big because you mentioned how playing Colorado. Colorado is one of the top teams in the league. You've got to expect that pushback, and you can expect that they might just have it one night over you and that they have superstar talent like that.
Right.
That's not to say that Tampa and Detroit don't. It's just that they're in a position in the standings right now where it's very much where you are. And this kind of is your opportunity to show that you are better than them based on everything this season and that you belong in that conversation. When you play Boston, it'll be a different conversation. Boston's at the very top of the league, but those two teams, Tampa and Detroit, these are really big tests for where the Flyers are. And certainly, the news today shakes some of that up a little bit. It changes the vibe a little bit coming in, but they can kind of turn it back really quick if they have a really strong performance in this game.
He's Kevin Durso. Follow him on Twitter, X at Kevin_Durso. All of his Flyers coverage over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Listen, Kevin, next time Tortorella complains about the questions from the media, someone should remind him that he doesn't have to deal with the crazy media and the other fans out there. He has to deal with the respectable media like you in those press conferences, okay?
It depends on what mood he is in when he walks into the room, because sometimes that's premeditated on his part. And it doesn't matter who's asking the question. But point taken nonetheless.
Kevin, take care, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennick here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Yes, you can listen to Flyers hockey games on the app, every single game here on 97.3 ESPN. And real quick before we hit the break, I was a couple things to take away there. One, and I understand where Mike and Marmora is coming from. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of questions about what is going on with Carter Hart. What is going on with a lot of the guys who he is connected to. Okay. And I'm not trying to put out any rumors or speculations out there myself, but I'll just say to Mike and Marmora, as someone who has some information, but not all the information, I am personally not comfortable making any accusations, but I had to ask Durso about Hart's future because we go back to last year. All right. You guys may or may not remember, I had Scott Laughlin from XM NHL Radio on throughout the hockey season last year. And one of the conversations Scott had with us was that as someone who covers the hockey in the NHL as a whole, has to cover all the hockey organizations, he brought up the fact that, look, if the Flyers ever want to move on from Carter Hart, there are going to be teams that call. And if the Flyers are not interested in overhauling the roster right now, do you wait till the offseason or do you wait till the deadline to move Hart if, this personal reasons, what they're calling it, lingers on? Again, I'm not trying to get rid of the guy. I think the dude is a stud goaltender. I've always felt like his talent and his skill and his ability reminds me of Martin Brodeur. He has that type of stoic ability. He has that type of athleticism. He has that type of instinctive ability. But it's very obvious that whatever these personal reasons are, have impacted his ability to be a consistent elite goaltender. So whatever the reason is, and Mike and Maramora, I see your text at 609-403-0973. And I just want to let you know, I'm not going to read the part of it on, but I will say, I will not deny that the point you're bringing up has validity. Okay. There may be something to that. I don't think that is something that can completely be dismissed out of hand. But I will say that when you're dealing with these kind of stories, we have to remember these are still human beings. And we as fans, we as sports fanatics, we as sports people, whatever definition you want to label yourself as, we got to look at these people as human beings sometimes. And as I said to Mike Gill a couple hours ago on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, I said, we got to remember that it's been documented about Embiid that he became a better athlete, a more mature player, a better human being, a more mature human being. Not that he was a bad human being, but he was immature. There was something about him that lacked focus. Ever since he had a son, ever since he became a father, it has changed his perspective on life and it's changed his attitude about things at times. And so for a lot of these athletes, there is always that question of what is going on in their personal life, what is going on in their family life. Yes, as a professional, you got to be able to separate the on and off the court, the on and off the ice, the on and off the field stuff. But sometimes it's difficult to do because if you may have difficulty separating it at times with you and your life and your job, imagine how it impacts these guys. Money doesn't solve all your problems. It just creates more problems. That's typically what happens for these athletes. That's why so many of them end up, not financially well off after playing professional sports because they either burn their money or they invest it with the wrong people. So again, I'm not trying to run Carter Hart out of town, but I am well aware that this is a results-oriented business. And if Carter Hart is your biggest bona fide, valuable trade chip at some point, and you got to make a decision about whether he wants to be here or not, and he may come to you at some point and say, whatever these personal reasons are, I have now missed multiple games over multiple years due to personal reasons, injuries, and getting sick, right? At some point, it might just be the time for change of scenery for him and a change for you. And that's why I'm thinking in that direction. And that's as gently as I can put it. Kelly, I'm next. Baseball Hall of Fame has 3 new inductees, and one of them is not a Philadelphia Philly. I'll give you the full list coming up here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday night.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedork bring you all the exciting play-by-play action. It's Flyers Live tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Flyers hockey all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey, 97.3 ESPN.
It's a new year. It's a new day. Save all month long at Matt Blatt Mitsubishi every day. So if you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Blatt Mitsubishi wants to get you released so you can celebrate this new year and get you into a brand new Mitsubishi Outlander or Eclipse Cross SUV, both with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 60 months. Clearing $450 per week at Matt Blatt Mitsubishi, you're virtually approved. And only Matt Blatt Mitsubishi has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you're worried that your credit will keep you from getting a new ride, Matt Blatt Mitsubishi wants to finance your future, not your past. Simply Matt Blatt Mitsubishi. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. 1666 per thousand finance unapproved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Go to mattblattmitsubishi.com. 844-946-2315 for complete details. Plus tax, license, registration fees. Offers can't be combined. Expires 2/4/24. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
Yeah, we're replacing the carpets too, so don't worry about that.
No fresh powder yet, but Dan's Ski Lodge has an avalanche of projects.
Those 4 rooms are getting hot tubs.
He needs a staff engineer to navigate a flurry of new requests.
And all of those will be fully ADA accessible.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Let's take a moment to appreciate our sweet children, loving grandparents, and eternal soulmates. Now let's use them to save money on wireless. Because with the Straight Talk Silver Plan, you get 4 lines for just $25 a month with unlimited data and no contracts. So add those human pawns, loved ones, and save money. Thanks, kids. They're finally worth it. Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Get 4 lines on Silver Unlimited for $25 per line per month, plus taxes and fees. For data management practices and additional terms, visit straighttalk.com.
In Jersey, we're pretty lucky. For starters, we don't pump our own gas. Because why would you want to? We've got 130 miles of gorgeous shoreline, and each of us has a favorite spot. Jersey is the world's diner capital, which means a cannoli is always close by. And get this, Jersey lottery players win millions of dollars every single day. What a reason to try your Jersey luck.
Yo, I won!
Anything can happen in Jersey.
Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
Top of the 7th looks like a pitching change as they've set up for a corner kick. The 2 black belts have entered the mat, and the slider is low and away. He heads the ball to midfield. This is quite a kumite. Here comes the roundhouse. Has it got enough gas to get out of here? Unbelievable. They've bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Kick savings pitch karate.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
With savings at the Home Depot, we'll get your kitchen clicking. With top brand appliances like a GE Profile refrigerator with convenient features like a built-in dual dispense autofill pitcher. Plus, with seamless shopping in-store and online, everything you need for your kitchen is just a click away. Final days to get up to $800 off select kitchen appliances from top brands like GE Profile at the Home Depot. Pricing valid January 4 through 24. Gas ranges and dryers extra. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers, excludes Corvette, excludes prior sales.
It's a new year everywhere, but at Bennett Chevrolet, some things don't change because there's still no beating Bennett. That's right. Bennett Chevy kicks off 2024 just like every other year with the best deals anywhere on new and pre-owned vehicles. You still pay what our GM supplier employees pay, not a penny more. Plus, you keep all the rebates. Unlike many dealers that give you either or, Bennett gives you both. The GM supplier employee price plus all the rebates. And you save even more with Bennett's available 1.9% financing. Looking for used? Get an astounding $8,000 minimum for any old clunker towards any pre-owned in stock. That's at least $8,000 for total junk. So imagine how much Bennett pays for a good trade. And Bennett still offers the best buying experience in the business with a sales team paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Imagine that. Salespeople with your best interest in mind. Together, let's drive at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and Bennett.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The 2024 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's iconic Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall for the 5th consecutive year, March 12th through the 16th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, Kids Day, and mascot game. Don't miss the chance to be a part of the action to see who will cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Visit maxsports.com/basketball for more information.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All right, before we get to the Flyers tonight on 97.3 ESPN, Dan EHT says Hart is a disappointment. Well, it's easy to say that, Dan EHT, when it's easy to say that when we don't have all the information, okay? You know, you can be disappointed that Carter Hart has not delivered you a Stanley Cup final run, but I don't think he is a disappointment. I think I would differentiate those. It's disappointing that Carter Hart has not stayed healthy, that he has had some personal reasons, that he has not been around a couple times, that, you know, Carter Hart is someone who is supposed to be one of the best young talents come out of Canadian hockey in years, and it hasn't equaled a championship for you. You can be disappointed in that. I don't think he himself is a disappointment, though. I think that's a little different. Okay. I said I would get to the Baseball Hall of Fame. So your 3 inductees is Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer. Billy Wagner missed by 5 votes. Okay. The next highest Philly was Chase Utley. Chase Utley was way down the list at 28.8%. Jimmy Rollins at 14.8%. And the reason why I bring this up is because there have been people who have been very definitive in their position that they think that Utley and Rollins should be Hall of Famers. I mean, Jimmy Rollins won a league MVP. I remember Tim Kirchin saying on this station on 97.3 years ago that he thought Chase Utley is a Hall of Famer at second base. Neither one of them even got 30%. But yet, you know who got a high number of votes? Gary Sheffield. It's so strange to me that we have all these people, 246 people, are giving Gary Sheffield the benefit of the doubt. But we can't do the same thing for everybody else. I mean, Alex Rodriguez and Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds are 3 of the greatest baseball players of all time. But we're giving Gary Sheffield 246 votes. How does Sheffield get more votes than Andrew Jones? Andrew Jones is one of the best center fielders I've ever seen defensively. How does Manny Ramirez get more votes than Chase Utley or Jimmy Rollins if we're supposed to be so anti-PED users? The whole voting system for the Baseball Hall of Fame is a joke to me. But either way, congratulations to Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer. Good for them. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Flyers hockey next.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.3 ESPN with Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman. Do you consider Rocky sports movies?
Is Rocky a
As
sports
someone who
movie? It feels like more of a drama. Listen, I have this weird, convoluted system in which I judge whether or not it's a sports movie. The Rocky and Creed thing just seems so far-fetched. It's not close to the realm of reality.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.